This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Okay, this is the second in a series of videos that I'm doing entitled Why I Love This Album. And this week, as you've probably gathered by looking at the thumbnail for this video, we're talking about this album, Eric Johnson's masterpiece of an album called Avaya Musicom. No, I don't know what that title means either, but I'm sure somebody will Google it and tell me in the comments. Yeah, what can I tell you about this album? Well, it's another one of these albums that, I'd read so much about in the guitar press, reading interviews with Eric Johnson and reading reviews of the album. And this was the early 90s. This wasn't an era when you could just kind of open the Amazon app on your phone or go to the website or whatever, and a couple of mouse clicks later you're listening to the music, or a couple of mouse clicks later you're waiting for the CD to turn up. This was in an era when you went and probably bought your records in Woolworths or HMV or Our Price or one of the big chain record stores. And, they weren't big on stocking this kind of stuff, it has to be said. But I was in my local independent record shop called Alan Fernley's. If anybody on Teesside will know that emporium, sadly no longer there. Alan Fernley's Records, and I saw this CD in the rack, Eric Johnson, Avaya Musicom, and I was elbowing people out of the way to kind of make sure I got it. And you did that back in those days. You bought an album simply on the strength of the buzz that was going around about it. And, you had no idea what you were letting yourself in for, what it was going to sound like. And sometimes you were disappointed. But I got to tell you, not in this case here. So what I've got here, I've just made a few notes I'm going to be referring to, a few highlights, a few high points of the album that, stick with me. And, as you're walking the dog or as I'm kind of doing the shopping or something, I find myself humming a tune, and it's probably one of the tunes from this album. And it makes me want to go home and listen to it. So, okay, the opening track from the album, Avaya Musicom, it's a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. It's just this kind of atonal, kind of not particularly musical sounding, kind of noise soundscape, really, with electric guitars and volume swells and, no detectable kind of meter or anything like that. It's just a bit odd. And when I first got the album, I kind of put this on and thought, I'm not sure about this. And then, bang, in comes the standout track from the album, really, that's a cut above all of the rest of them, I think, Cliffs of Dover. It just smacks you in the face with that blistering guitar intro. And then it just kind of modulates kind of seamlessly into this catchy pedal tone riff. And then in comes the melody, and we're off. It's just melodic, beautiful, shreddy guitar playing all the way to the end. Like I said about the Joe Satriani album that I talked about last week, yes, it's virtuoso guitar playing, but it's not virtuoso guitar playing for the sake of virtuoso guitar playing, a big ego trip or anything like that. It is musical, it is melodic, it is tuneful. You go away from listening to this album with all of the tunes buzzing around your head, and you're humming them and you're whistling them, and, they just stay with you. The other thing about Cliffs of Dover is that it is an amazingly full sound. I must have listened to this track, a dozen or so times before it dawned on me that this is just guitar, bass and drums. There's no kind of chordal accompaniment there. There's no kind of rhythm guitarist or keyboards on this kind of producing like a kind of a chord sequence underneath Eric's guitar solo. All of the implied chord sequences are there simply because of the lead lines that he's playing, which are heavily based around arpeggios and stuff, but it's just an amazingly full sound for like a power trio lineup, really. Next we move on to Desert Rose. Again, plenty of virtuoso guitar playing, but unlike many shred guitar albums, this is a song. It has vocals. And Eric turns in, I gotta tell you, a rather good vocal performance on here. When I first heard him singing, this was the first track I heard him singing. It's the first track on the album where he actually sings. It struck me that he sounded a bit like Richard Marx, that kind of 80s pop balladeer, Hazard and all of that sort of stuff. Now, whether or not you like Richard Marx's music, you can't deny he's got a canny set of pipes on him and he can carry a tune. And Eric, I think, does a remarkably good job of singing on this album. And it's got great chorus, a great catchy hook-laden chorus with good pop sensibilities, and then you've got all of the again shreddy but melodic guitar playing. Brilliant outro solo on this track where you can hear him wrenching feedback out of his Strat, and it sounds like a Marshall he's playing through on this track. But, just beautifully controlled feedback, shreddy, melodic, virtuoso guitar playing, catchy tune, great singing. What more do you want? And then later on in the album, we get something completely unexpected. This one really took me by surprise when I first heard it. It's called Steve's Boogie, and it's a duet with another guitarist, Steve Hennig, and it's just pure chicken picking, rockabilly, country guitar playing. It wouldn't sound out of place on an Albert Lee album, it's kind of maybe got that Ricky Skaggs kind of feel to it as well. It's just, that there's, between the two of them, it's hard to tell who's playing what parts on this because they are both absolutely stellar guitar players, Eric and Steve, and it's just a brilliant toe-tapping, fun bit of rockabilly country guitar playing. And, more power to it. It's a fantastic track. Sits well on the album. It does take you by surprise when you've been listening to all of this kind of kind of feedback laden Marshall kind of rock stuff that's going on the album. But this track, it's just like, okay, this is something different in a pleasant way. Another track on the album which really kind of stays with me, for days after I've heard even a few bars of it, is called Trademark. This has, let me read what I've written here. It's a laid-back, sinuous melody, and that's true. Its melody is a strong feature all the way through this album, and this track is no exception. It's a beautiful, hummable melody, and Eric has one of the most beautiful Strat neck pickup tones on this track. Really, it's really juicy and rich and full. It's kind of almost got a bit of Stevie Ray Vaughan about it, I guess. It's got that same sort of Texas blues kind of element to it, but with elements of kind of just straight ahead instrumental rock guitar, maybe a little bit of fusion in there. The thing about this track is that there are many players who play a Strat and sound like a Strat player. Not there's anything wrong with that. A Strat is a great guitar sound. But Eric, every time you hear him pick up a Strat, it's Eric. You can tell he's playing a Strat, but it's his identifiable version of the Strat sound. The thing that I would say about this, and this is true of like most of the album, to be honest with you, is you don't consciously notice the virtuoso guitar work on the first listen to most of these tracks. You just notice that it's good music, well played, melodic, tuneful, catchy tunes that kind of get under your skin. And it's only when you start listening or, kind of maybe start attempting to play some of these tunes that you realise, God, he's really good, isn't he? Indeed he is. So what else have we got? Well, Nothing Can Keep Me From You. I guess you could call this another pop ballad kind of thing. A belting vocal on this, really, really good vocal track that he put on here. Again, strong kind of pop sensibilities, good hooks, catchy choruses. It's a very uplifting, joyous sounding kind of set of lyrics and melody. It could easily be, dare I say it could easily be something that some boy band might get their hands on and do a cover of. Let's hope they don't, but it's that sort of immediate and catchy, but it has the depth there as well. And then just when you're getting used to this, this kind of catchy little pop rock tune, it sort of morphs on the outro solo into this behemoth of a shred guitar fest. The outro solo on this he's had his Weetabix that morning, put it that way. It's absolutely incredible. Stunning technique, absolutely jaw-dropping guitar playing, but once again, it's all there to serve the melody and the kind of musicality of it. It never becomes self-indulgent. It never becomes an ego trip. Then we move on to different territory altogether with the next one, Song for George. This is just a beautifully executed solo acoustic blues guitar piece. Very sort of Chet Atkins, that kind of thing, kind of intricate, kind of alternating bass, Travis picking kind of stuff going on. Stunning technique, but once again, in case you're getting sick of me hearing me say this, I'll say it again. Just none of the technique gets in the way of the music. It's a beautifully melodic musical piece that, once again, you notice the musicality of it before you begin to notice the just how difficult it is and what a fantastic virtuoso player he is. Then we're kind of on to the sort of wind down, really, the kind of bringing the album to a close. And the two tracks that, for me, I always kind of think of them as part one and part two of the closing section of the album. We're looking at 40 Mile Town and East Wes, but we'll deal with 40 Mile Town first. There's no real shred guitar on this. It's just a beautifully touching, sensitive ballad. Beautiful, sensitive, intimate vocal performance, and it's one of those tracks. I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but I know it just makes me feel all kind of glad and warm inside. It kind of leaves you with that feeling. And East Wes, well, as you can probably tell by the title, East Wes, it's a tribute to jazz guitar player Wes Montgomery. And it would be easy for Eric to kind of go into some sort of pastiche of a jazz guitar kind of thing here, doing that kind of Wes Montgomery thing of playing octaves with a thumb. And there is some of that in there, but it's still identifiably Eric Johnson. You can tell Eric is having a little bit of a homage to one of his heroes. And again, beautifully strong melodies, beautifully arranged. The production on this album as well is worth a mention. It was a bit of a labour of love for Eric, this album. From reading interviews back in the day, from what I can remember, I think he got the album almost finished, then junked most of it, and then started again, and then kind of, did that a couple of times. And, it was a long time being made, this album. So, the production on it was obviously quite painstaking, and dearie me, it shows. There is not a note out of place anywhere on the album, and it's just a beautifully recorded album to listen to. East Wes, it's a smoky kind of laid back jazzy instrumental, but don't let the word jazzy put you off. It is infectiously melodic, and just kind of, it's again one of those melodies that just kind of gets under your skin and stays there, and a beautiful way to close the album. So what I've done is I've linked to the album down below so you can take a listen to it yourself if you've never heard it, and please I urge you, check it out. It is really worth listening to. It's it's a beautiful album, regardless of whether you're into guitar music or not. It is just a beautiful musical experience, and I can highly recommend it. So there you go, folks. Those are my thoughts on Eric Johnson's wonderful Avaya Musicom album. I hope you'll go and check it out, and please let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed the video, because that's pretty much it for today. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. If you're interested in supporting the channel, all the links are downstairs in the description box. Thank you so much if you're supporting me in any of those ways, and thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it. And don't forget, we're another day closer to Friday. What happens on Friday? Well, the weekly live stream, 5 p.m. UK time. That's just bunch of people sitting around and having a beer and talking about guitars. Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there. But till then, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.